Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the Week 3 slate. And we got a very intriguing matchup as BYU heads on the road to play the Arkansas Razorbacks. And what is a rematch from a game that was very exciting last year, kind of a shootout last year. This year, I see this game being a little bit more of a defensive showdown. Both defenses playing very, very good football. Both offenses getting out of the gate to a slow start. Now, for both these programs, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit of a look-ahead moment, their first two games, going up against opponents that significantly inferior, probably looking forward to this Week 3 matchup. I would expect both offenses to take a stride. Excited to get into some key matchups. Now, before we do again, just want to say thank you to you guys. The amount of support that you guys have shown for all these game previews really does mean a lot. Over 8,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, the support you guys have shown truly means a lot to the boys. But more importantly, let me know in the comment section what you guys are thinking. The best part about doing this, learning from you guys, talking ball in the comment section. That's why I love doing it. So appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. And without further ado, let's get into this. And I want to start with, I think that probably the biggest matchup that you'll see during this game is, can Arkansas establish the run against BYU? BYU has been very good against the run through the first two games of the season, only giving up around 61 yards per game on the ground. They got some good guys up front. I think Ben Bywater, one of the more underrated linebackers in the whole entire country. And this Arkansas team, I mean, Sam Pittman, very vocal about his disappointment in terms of running the football for Arkansas. Shouted out the offensive line, saying we're not being physical enough at the point of attack. We're not reading blocks enough at the running back position. He was disappointed after that Kent State game, and rightfully so. That was a Kent State team that you probably should be putting up 50 points against. Only scored 28. It was a slow start, not being able to run the football, and that's where it starts. I mean, this Arkansas team is their identity. It's why you hire Sam Pittman, get offensive linemen, develop offensive linemen, be one of the most physical teams in the SEC. Sam Pittman teams need to be able to run the football. That's why we've seen them have so much success. And this is a game that I would look for Arkansas to really establish the run and kind of get physical. They didn't want to run KJ Jefferson that much against Kent State. They were kind of forced to. At least that's what Sam Pittman said. Again, KJ Jefferson is a guy that, don't forget to use his legs, right? I mean, that is one of his biggest assets. But bringing in Dan Enos, I think they can push the ball down the field a little bit more than I think the national media gives KJ Jefferson credit for. I mean, a lot of people just view KJ Jefferson as a big body who runs the football. KJ Jefferson's completed over 70% of his passes this year. Really efficient last year. And I think Dan Enos coming in, really good developer of quarterbacks, is going to look to lean on KJ Jefferson, not only with his legs, but having him push the ball down the field. And I'll tell you what, one of the biggest question marks that we had heading into the season for Arkansas was, do they have the guys on the outside to create some separation? I mean, the last couple of years, Matt Landers, you had Traylon Burks, you had some dudes in that wide receiver room. This year was a lot of question marks because they went to the transfer portal and got some guys from the group of 5 level, from the FCS level. I'll tell you what, after watching that Kent State game, Isaac Tesla, I think they hit with him. I think they got a really nice true freshman at that tight end spot as well. But Isaac Tesla just catches everything thrown his way. It starts up front. I mean, I think I'm not saying anything groundbreaking there. Arkansas needs to run the football better than that they have been. This is a BYU team that is pretty good at stopping the run. That's probably the biggest matchup of this game. But if Arkansas can get something going on the ground, I've kind of been banging the table for, like, KJ Jefferson, cook a little bit with his arm too. I think you have some wide receivers. You have a lot of speed and you have a lot of size on the outside. See if you can win vertically a little bit. See if you can hit some of those explosive plays. If Arkansas can marry establishing the run, forcing teams to put more guys, roll the guys down into the box to stop this run, and then couple that with hitting some deep shots, that's when I think Arkansas is at their best on the offensive side of the ball. And if they can get that run game going and then push the ball down the field, I think that's probably the key for Arkansas on the offensive side of the ball. Now, looking over at that BYU team, again, this is, in my mind, Keaton Slovis, I think, was a really good get in the transfer portal. He played for Pitt last year. I mean, Pitt, as much as I love Pat Narduzzi, not very conducive to putting up numbers and having successful quarterback play. You already see Phil Yurkovich not playing very well for Pitt early in his career, or early in his year for Pitt. Keaton Slovis is a very quality quarterback. You've seen him be pretty efficient. They're throwing the football at a pretty high level. I mean, you look, they're not really running the football. They are more going to the air raid. They only have 79 yards per game on the ground, but they're throwing for almost 250. And Keaton Slovis is a guy that I don't think has an elite NFL arm, but there was a reason 2 years ago that he was getting talked about as an NFL draft candidate because he has some really good accuracy. I think you have some really good pass catchers, Keanu Hill, Chase Roberts, Isaac Rex. I mean, how good is it to see Isaac Rex coming back and being healthy now? I think the storyline for this game is I think this Arkansas defense, as much as I was so critical of this Arkansas defense last year, and partially critical because they just weren't healthy. I mean, they lost some key contributors early on in the season. They were playing some guys that probably shouldn't have been playing at an SEC level in that secondary room. I think this Arkansas team is very, very improved on the defensive side of the ball, not only in the secondary, but up front as well, right? Jaheim Thomas, talk about hits in the transfer portal. He looks absolutely awesome for Arkansas at the linebacker position. Chris Paul Jr., very good. Landon Jackson coming along. I like Rose's game up front, really, really good. Trajan Jeffco coming from Missouri, but he had some good moments. My take on this is Arkansas has gotten a lot better on the defensive side of the ball. Now, as of right now, I wouldn't say their offense got better. But that being said, I'm not ready to chalk up the offense as being bad just because they haven't played good against West Carolina and Kent State. And they're still handling business. They just don't look as explosive as you want. For me, I think the big matchup is BYU's offense gonna be able to hit those explosive plays through the air? Because this Arkansas team in the front seven, much more improved. BYU hasn't really shown the desire to want to run the football. They want to lean on Keaton Slovis and these talented wide receivers. And I think Arkansas on the defensive side of the ball is really, really improved. Now, getting to kind of the game pick here, Arkansas at home, 10-point favorites. This is not an Arkansas team right now, and I think a lot of Arkansas fans would agree with this. Is not like you're not really itching to have a bet on Arkansas to win by 2 scores after the last couple games you've seen in terms of running the football. I'm going to say something I think a little bit crazy. I think Arkansas might be a better team than we saw last year. I just think they're off to a slow start because I think this defense, I'm not saying it's a top 20 defense in the country, but I'm saying I think it's a lot better than what we saw last year. And on the offensive side of the ball, new offensive coordinator, replacing some guys up front, this offense is going to get going. And if we see this offense establish the run against the BYU team that is very good in the front seven, I think you're taking a look at this Arkansas team and better on defense. If they can hold serve on offense, this is a better team than we saw last year. I think Sam Pittman continuing to get those bodies kind of along the line of scrimmage that are being difference makers. And this BYU team, I like this BYU team, and it's not a BYU team that I'm really itching to bet against either because Keaton Slovis has looked sharp. And again, he's a guy that I've been a fan of since he's been back at USC. I think Pat Narduzzi didn't do him any favors at Pitt. So for this game, I don't think I think Arkansas is going to win at home. I think this game is going to be closer than I think many people think. So I don't really know if I want to take Arkansas minus the 10.5 points. That being said, I think it's a game that you take a look at both Arkansas and BYU, you're going to learn a lot about both these teams. Again, both these teams I think are very talented. I think both these teams haven't really played anyone that's bringing their best football out. It's hard to play your best football against Southern Utah or against Kent State or West Carolina. This is a game where both these teams need to play their best football to win. I think you're going to find out a lot about both of these teams. And again, keep an eye on that matchup with Arkansas running the football against BYU. Because if it doesn't look like Arkansas can establish the run against BYU, then it's all right, this might be tougher sledding for Arkansas. That being said, if they can, this Arkansas team, I think, will be just fine. This is going to be a really good one. Really excited for it, but not a game that I'm itching to bet on either team because I don't think you know about each team enough yet because they just haven't really played any teams that are going to push them. You're going to find out a lot about both these teams in this week 3 game. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.